Hi guys, welcome to this video on Act 2, Scene 3 in Macbeth. Now this is a very long scene in the play, so I'm going to split this scene into two separate videos. The first video will deal with the Porter's speech. The Porter is a character that we're introduced to at the beginning of this scene. I will discuss everything the Porter represents when we are talking through the annotation. This video will also see the arrival of Macduff and his family into Macbeth Castle, and we'll get some sort of understanding of Macduff as a character. The second half of the video that will come out after this will feature the discovery of the body of Duncan and Macbeth and Lady Macbeth's deception of the people that are there to try and cover up the fact that they were involved in the murder. Okay, so this will end when, if you look in your text, it says enter Macduff for the second time. Just enter Macduff, page 33. So just follow up to there. Okay, so let's have a little listen to this scene.
Here's a knocking, indeed. A man with Porter of Hellgate, he should have called, turning the key. No, no, no. Who's there? In the name of Beelzebub. Faith, here's a farmer that hanged himself on the expectation of plenty. Oh, come in, time server. Have napkins enough about you. Here, you'll sweat for it. Not who's there in the other devil's name. Faith, here's an equivocator who can swear, in both the scales, against either scale, who committed treason enough for God's sake, yet could not equivocate to heaven. Come in, equivocator. Knock, who's there? Faith, here's an English tailor. You come hither for stealing. Oh, dear. Out of a French hose, come in, tailor. Here you may roast your goose. No, never a quiet. What are you? But this place is too cold for hell. I'll devil portrait no further. I had thought to have let in some of all professions that go the primrose way to the everlasting bonfire. Anon. I pray you, remember the porter. Oh.
Was it so late, friend, ere you went to bed, that you do lie so late?
Faith, sir, we was carousing till the second cock. And drink, sir, is a great provoker. Of three things.
Well, what three things does drink especially provoke?
Marry, sir, nose painting, sleep and urine. Lechery, sir. Drink provokes and unprovokes. Yes, it provokes a desire, but it takes away the performance. Yeah. Therefore, much drink may be said to be an equivocator. With lechery, it makes him and it mars him. It sets him on, it takes him off, it makes him stand to, and not stand to. In conclusion, equivocates him in a sleep, and giving him the lie, leaves him.
I believe drink gave thee the lie last night.
That it did, sir, in the very throat of me.
Is thy master stirring?
Our knocking has awaked him. Here he comes. Good morrow, noble sir.
Good morrow, both. Is the king stirring, worthy Thane?
Not yet.
He did command me to call timely on him. I've almost slipped the hour.
I'll bring you to him.
I know this is a joyful trouble to you, but yet 'tis one.
The labour we delight in, physics pain. This is the door.
I'll make so bold to call, for 'tis my limited service.
Goes the king hence today? He does, he did appoint so. The night has been unruly. Where we lay, our chimneys were blown down. And as they say, lamentings heard in the air, strange screams of death, and prophesying with accents terrible of dire combustion and confused events, new hatch to the woeful time. The obscure bird clamoured the livelong night. Some say the earth was feverous and did shake.
'Twas a rough night.
My young remembrance cannot parallel a fellow toot.
Okay, so let's have a look at some of this annotation. But before I do, I just want to point you towards a video by a teacher called Mr. Tailor. His video is on YouTube. I watched this to get a lot of inspiration for the Porter's speech. He had some really good ideas. I would recommend checking that video out if you want to deepen an understanding of this speech and the Porter as a character. It's really good, you should check it out. So this scene deals with betrayal, deception and equivocation. We will see the betrayal and deception in the next video, but for this scene we need to make sure we have a really good understanding of what equivocation actually means. So to remind you, equivocation is the use of ambiguous language to hide the truth or to avoid giving a straight answer. It means to neither lie nor tell the truth. It's what the witches do in their prophecies. It's what the witches do with fair is foul and foul is fair. I will see examples of this throughout the rest of the play, but here it's directly referenced to. So before we start looking at what he says, let's consider the Porter's character. So in Shakespeare plays, he likes to include characters that represent regular people. The situation was a lot of poor people would go to see Shakespeare theatre because it was kind of the entertainment of the time. These were called groundlings, and they were the people that would have paid sort of for cheaper tickets in the standing area. And this is a thing you can do today. You know, if you go to the Globe Theatre in London, you can pay I think £5 and go and see Shakespeare theatre, but you have to stand. So in including regular people, Shakespeare is communicating directly with his audience, and he's showing them kind of them in his plays. And because of this, the character talks in prose. So he just talks like a story or like you or I would just speak. This indicates that he's a low character. He doesn't have great education or isn't from noble birth. It also helps to differentiate his voice from the other voices in the play. So when you look at the text, so let's just quickly look at the text, you see how it isn't arranged as iambic pentameter would be. It's not rhyming or anything like that. That was what we would refer to as prose. He represents a light comic relief to the tragedy that we've seen before. This comes at one of the tensest points of the play. Duncan has just been murdered and Macbeth seems to be falling apart at the seams. It is incredibly tense. There's a lot of anxiety that's been built within the characters, and the introduction of this comic character who tells a lot of dirty jokes works as light relief. You know, it gives the audience a moment to just inhale and just stop, because if Shakespeare had just continued the rising tension, he wouldn't really have anywhere to go. As I've said before, that he was designed to entertain the groundlings. You know, a lot of these dirty jokes are specific to the time in which this play was written. We may not get them, but I'll explain them as we get to them. However, he could be seen as a much darker character with a much more important role to fill, because the words that he uses foreshadow the events of the play and often have deeper meanings. They often refer to things that have happened in real life that are actually pretty heavy. You know, things around treason and murder and execution and things like that. He could also be seen to increase tension. As I've said before, if there are alternative viewpoints, we must be able to argue both of them. So yes, this is a light comic character, but at the same time, there is tension increased within this scene. The repetitive knocking, that adds to the sense of suspense. The satanic imagery, certainly to a Jacobean audience, the use of satanic imagery would develop a sense of worry, concern, fear. It could also be seen as a comment on fate. The amount that he foreshadows for Macbeth and Lady Macbeth may insinuate that they don't actually have very much control over their lives, and all of this is sort of predetermined. Okay, so let's have a look at the things that he says. So he starts by saying, "Here's a knocking indeed, if a man were porter of Hellgate." So this is him describing Macbeth's castle as hell. He is the porter of Macbeth's castle. He compares it to hell. And throughout his speech, he's imagining what it would be like to be a porter at the gate of hell. So he's either referring to Macbeth's castle as that, or this is like a thought exercise that he is pretending that he is the porter at the gate of hell, and he welcomes in all of these different types of sinners. Both of these things work as a form of foreshadowing for what Macbeth's castle will become, and what Scotland will become, and the sinners that by the end of the play are going to have been sent to hell. So he furthers the satanic imagery with the use of the word Beelzebub. This is Satan. And then we get the first sinner that he's welcoming in through Hellgate. So he says, "Here's a farmer that hanged himself on the expectation of plenty." So it's a farmer who has grown crops and thought that he would be able to get more money from it, but he wasn't, so he hung himself. This is greed. This is someone who died because they wanted more. This very much can apply to Lady Macbeth and Macbeth. They were greedy. They put themselves in a situation where they could be killed on the expectation that they will be able to take everything. He then talks directly. He says, "Here's an equivocator." Now, I've highlighted this. This is a contextual piece of information. So the porter is referring to a person called Father Garnet, who tried to save his life with specious arguments, but he was executed in 1606 for complicity in the Gunpowder Plot. So what happened with that was Father Garnet, he knew the Gunpowder Plot, he knew the plotters were going to blow up Parliament. They told him in confession. So he was put in a difficult situation where if he told the police, if he told the authorities about this plot, he would be betraying their confidence with God. But if he didn't, then he would be betraying the king, who had been selected by God. So rather than take either side, Father Garnet just tried to equivocate and not really give any straight answers. And unfortunately, this led to him being executed because they thought that he was being complicit with the Gunpowder Plotters. So when we talk about equivocation in this play, this would have been a very fresh detail in the minds of the Jacobean public. And then he goes on to say, "Who committed treason enough for God's sake, yet could not equivocate to heaven." This is a direct reference to the Gunpowder Plot, in which Father Garnet was involved. He then talks about the second sinner that he welcomes in. He says, "Faith, here's an English tailor come hither for stealing out of a French hose." I mean, for a start, this is mocking the English. This is something that Shakespeare has also done in previous plays, and it's to get a rise out of the crowd. It also shows attitudes towards the English from Scottish people. They're mocking them. And again, this refers to greed. He talks about an English tailor who is stealing material out of a pair of tights, an item of clothing that doesn't have any material to give. And so it's trying to get more where more doesn't exist. Exactly the same as Macbeth and his desire for power. The power that he claims by killing Duncan is hollow, is empty. There's nothing there. And even Macbeth himself says he can't gain any pleasure from it because he knows that it's meaningless. So we could think that, is he foreshadowing Macbeth when he talks about that? Here is a dirty joke. He says, "Here you may roast your goose." The book says that's to do with heating up your iron, which, yeah, it warms you up. But at the same time, to roast your goose was a cure for an STD. So a sexually transmitted disease. It was to sweat out, I think it was syphilis, I think. So then we have some juxtaposing imagery. This place is too cold for hell. Reference to, the weather. And then this. I had thought to have let in some of all professions that go the primrose way to the everlasting bonfire. Now, to go the primrose way to the everlasting bonfire is to take the nice way into hell, to take the attractive way into hell. And in doing this, he's talking about the attractive qualities of sin. People that steal lots and lots of money, or steal possessions, or murder to get success in life, going the easy way, they will all end up in hell. And that directly reflects Macbeth, who gets his dream, and he becomes king, but he ends up in hell, both literally while he's still on earth, and spiritually, after he's died. Macbeth is definitely going to hell. So, with all of these double meanings and foreshadowing for the rest of the play, you can see that the Porter can be seen as quite an important character. Finally, where he says, remember the Porter, he's saying, give me a tip, leave me a bit of money. But at the same time, he's saying, remember my words, as they foreshadow the rest of the play and are lessons for life. So the Porter could be seen as quite a prophetic character, in the same way that the witches are. He predicts the events of the play through the sinners that he imagines letting into hell. So then we have Macduff arrive, who asks, was it so late, friend, ere you went to bed, that you did lie so late? And here we have the introduction of this word lie again. We've looked at this before, let the daggers lie, as a homophone, to mean something on the ground or something that is not telling the truth. This is going to be developed here. The Porter then uses some dirty jokes on Macduff. He's trying to sweeten him up. He talks about carousing till the second cock, and drinks that is a great provoker of three things. I think about the symbolism of threes and the potential link between the Porter and, the prophecies that the witches give. He talks about the provoker of three things being fighting, which is nose painting, lechery, that is sex. However, he uses equivocation to make the dirty joke that if you are drunk, you may want to have sex, but you may find it difficult to actually do the physical act of sex. Again, this would all be whipping up the groundlings and making them laugh and all that kind of stuff. We then have the development of this word lie. So the Porter says, in conclusion, equivocates him in a sleep, and giving him the lie, leaves him. Now, the lie is used as a homophone to create ambiguity. So this is a kind of equivocation. And in this sense, he says lie, as in it makes you want to lie down and fall asleep, but at the same time, it gives you the lie that you are going to be able to have sex with a woman. Do you know what I mean? So it's it's a homophone. It's ambiguous. And then Macduff, I believe drink gave thee the lie last night. So either it makes you lie down to sleep, or it lied to you about what you're talking about. But at the same time, this overuse of the word lie kind of foreshadows Macbeth's lie. It gets us into the mindset that there is going to be deception, that there is going to be somebody on stage telling lies. And it's only subtle, and it's a subconscious thing. But as I've said, Shakespeare is including all of these words throughout the whole play that just kind of sets us up to accept and receive the next thing that's happening. So then enter Macbeth. He has a conversation with Macduff. He tries to very much play it cool. Note that when Macbeth is talking to Macduff, we have a return to iambic pentameter. So this is showing that the higher characters are talking. It differentiates the speech patterns from that of the Porter. And in trying to throw Macduff off the scent, Macbeth uses some dramatic irony. So Macduff says, is the king stirring, worthy Thane? Not yet. I mean, we know that he won't. This is a lie. Macduff, I've almost slipped the hour. So there are a few elements of fate within this scene. If Macduff had been earlier, Macbeth would have been caught. Absolutely. If Macduff had arrived when he was supposed to have arrived, then Macbeth definitely wouldn't have been able to get away with murdering Duncan. The same thing with the porter, actually. If the porter had just got out of his chair and opened the door straight away, then Macduff would have come in and potentially caught Macbeth killing Duncan. Remember, the knocking from the beginning of this scene is seen maybe a page away from the end of the previous scene. So these events are directly lapping up. So these events are directly matching up. Macduff, I know this is a joyful trouble, this oxymoron, the ambiguousness of this, but at the same time, it kind of mirrors the words that Duncan uses when he arrives at Macbeth's castle. So then Macduff goes off to check on Duncan, and Macbeth chats to Lennox. And Macbeth, I think there's a nice sort of slip here. Lennox asks, "Goes the king hence today?" Macbeth replies, "He does. He did appoint so." We have here a change in tenses. I know it's only a really small thing, but did, past tense. This may reveal some of Macbeth's guilt. This may be Macbeth not being able to quite keep a lid on what's happened. As we'll see further in the future in the play, he really cannot keep a lid on what's happened. So, and then we have Lennox describing disturbances in nature. As I've said before, this is a consequence of Macbeth disrupting the natural order by killing Duncan. This is a consequence of Macbeth going against the divine order of kings and the way that nature selects kings. So he says the night has been unruly, so the weather was unruly, chimneys were blown down, lamentings heard in the air, strange screams of death. Again, he's hearing voices on the wind. Prophesying with accents terrible of dire combustion, so like fires from hell, and confused events. Some say the earth was feverous and did shake. All of these are disturbances in nature. And then Macbeth replies using some more dramatic irony, "'Twas a rough night." So yeah, weather-wise it was a rough night, but Macbeth here is also talking about the killing of Duncan. For him, personally, it was a rough night because he had to murder Duncan. Okay, so I think that's where we'll stop for that video, and we'll cover the second half of this scene next time. Okay, I hope you found that useful, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye bye.